Hi there, my name is Toby, and in this video I'm standing here doing some washing up. But of course it's got nothing to do with washing up. What I'm really doing is some high level, very difficult Kung Fu. And it is surprisingly difficult. I still struggle with this and have to remind myself. But if you're a fan of the old Kung Fu movies, you'll know that a lot of the training they do is while they work. And if you go to train Shaolin Kung Fu, the first thing they're going to get you to do in the temple is sweep the floor. It proves your dedication, but look, it also starting you to train in a martial arts stance, a body movement. So this is a body efficiency training, and this I call housework Kung Fu. But Kung Fu in the true sense of the word just means acquired skill. So the acquired skill I'm working on is body efficiency, and the basis of this body efficiency training is a stance, and it's this stance here. It's called the neutral stance. I call this a neutral stance, and I define this by asking a question. And the question is, what position would your body form if you were floating in space and you could achieve perfect relaxation? Your body would spring back to this position all by itself. And it's a neutral spine with neutral hips and shoulders, and the arms and legs are bent halfway and twisted halfway. And it looks a bit odd here while I'm standing, but it's a very dynamic stance. It looks quite primitive. And it's got to be the same regardless, not whichever way I'm standing up or lying down or turning. I've got to learn how to hold this structure inside my body regardless of whatever is happening to me or whatever I am doing. I've got to hold this structure independent even from gravity. And this is another version. This is the upright neutral stance. So this is more practical. Mostly if I'm standing around, we want to have a vertical spine. The full neutral stance, I'm levering forward like this at the hips, and you see the hips are a bit back and the shoulders are a bit back. Now here, forward stance, I'm leaning forward, but also upright stance here, and when I lean forward, you see the spine goes in line with the back leg, but I'm still trying to keep a neutral spine. Hips are back and the shoulders are back. And no matter what I'm doing, I'm trying to maintain as close to this neutral stance as possible, because it is the most efficient position for your body. The spine is in its correct natural S curve, and the hips and shoulders are in their neutral position a little bit backwards. You see the shoulders have got to be lifted up and back, and the hips are projected slightly back. This gives a lever in the hip joint. Now this is particularly important when you're leaning over doing some work like this, washing up. You see, because I can't get my knees under the sink, I have to lean over forward. And whenever we do work like this, leaning over forward, you're going to drop your shoulders down, you're going to arch your spine forward, and you're going to drop your neck down, and this is where we start to overwork our back. And if any of you got back problems, you'll sympathize with this. Leaning forward, you're going to struggle with back pain. And I fixed my back pain. I've had 5 years of back pain, a slip disc, lower back. I've had multiple problems in my body that I've had to fix. So I do understand back pain, and this is the solution. But even if you haven't got back pain, this is the most efficient way of using your body. You see, if you can hold your body like this, what happens is that the joints are a bit open. Everything's a little bit stretched. That means the blood can flow better, the lymphatic system can flow better, and most importantly, the energy, the chi, can flow better. You see, if your structure collapses, what happens is your joints collapse, and this puts pressure on the blood vessels and restricts the flow of blood. It also starts to put pressure on individual vertebrae of the spine. This is where you start to injure yourself, hurt yourself, and not only that, the lymphatic system sort of collapses because you've stopped moving. You've just squashed the lymph nodes, but they're not pulsing, they're not moving. If you keep the joints open as you move about, you're gently pulsing and moving the lymph nodes all the time. And I'm also doing more advanced work here. I'm also training to be ambidextrous. I'm using both my left and right hand. Now here's a heavy pan. It's a little bit difficult. Now look how I adjust the stance. I sink lower, I'm leaning my elbow onto the side, and I'm holding a strength in my structure. Shoulders are up and back. I'm arching still backwards. I'm projecting my hips back, pulling the belly in, and holding a tension as I do this. So I'm not just holding the tension in my arms, I've got to hold the tension in my whole body structure. So the core is tight, the glutes are tight, and from there I move my arms to do the movements in the washing up. It's difficult because your brain is concentrating on these complex tasks. See, washing up is still very, very complex. You have to think about what you're doing. You're doing spontaneous random movements, and when you start concentrating on your hands and all these details, you forget your overall basic body structure, and this makes this very difficult. But what I'm doing here, and go back and watch it a couple of times, it's worth it. Look at my shoulders. Again, it's hard to see. I'm topless so you can see my bone structure. And every now and then, you see my shoulders are up and back, and every now and then I do that. I stretch my neck back because I'm still leaning a little bit too far forward and bending my neck a bit too far forward. Now shaking, same thing. Lock up the core, still arching back, and I shake the object from the core. The whole structure is working. I'm working my whole body, and I'm not using the lower back to lean forward. I'm using the glutes. You see my knees are slightly out because I can't tuck them under, but if I want to go down lower, you see I bend my knees lower but keep the shoulders back. When we want to reach down lower, we tend to reach our shoulders forward, stretch forward, hunch down. No, you want to keep the arms up and back. So if you want to reach further forward, you've got to bend your knees lower, but it's really your hips. Lever lower at the hips, but keep the backwards arch in your spine. If you can do this, it's much more efficient. It's much easier to do. This is the key. Body efficiency is about reducing the effort of your work, and this is dramatically reducing the effort of your work. And here you can see me ambidextrous, use both the right hand and the left hand, and sometimes I swap over. What I can do with the right hand I must learn how to do with the left hand, and vice versa. Even handwriting, I've done that. I've trained myself to write with my left hand as well, and now I can nearly write better with my left hand than my right hand. So we want to balance out our body and train our internal body structure. So I'll leave the links below, and they'll come up here now as well, to 2 more videos which I go into more detail about different movements in this sort of housework and labouring, physical labour, and also a video about the neutral stance in more detail, how I build it. There is a logic to it and it's worth checking out. Okay, I hope this made sense and you enjoyed this little video. I look forward to seeing you next time.